start. MTC. Q Hyper 1 Number 1. Do you want to save on electricity costs through solar power but can't or don't want to put panels on your roof? Residents in the town of Whately now have the exclusive opportunity to sign up for a regional community shared solar farm being built in the town by Nexamp, the veteran-founded and Massachusetts-based solar provider. Town of Whately Nexamp. Through Nexamp's Solarize My Bill community solar program, Whately households and businesses can take advantage of the environmental and economic benefits of going solar without installing solar panels on their property. Nexamp Solarize My Bill, Whately. By subscribing to a share of the clean electricity generated by a local community solar project, participants can directly offset their electric bill and save on electricity costs with no upfront investment or long-term commitment. To learn more about how you can save while supporting local sources of renewable energy, visit www.solarizingthebill.com or call 600-445-2124 to speak with a member of the Nexamp Community Solar Team. www.solarizingthebill.com 600-445-2124 Nexamp. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC. Q Hyper 1 Number 2. Contemporary reading and writing practices are transforming before our eyes. Interactive reading and writing now increasingly engage us. One can read together with others remotely, commenting between the virtual lines and in the margins, reading each other's comments instantaneously, composing documents together in real time by adding words or sentences to those just composed by one's collaborators. The lines between one's own words and those of another's, let alone between whole sentences, become quickly blurred. Hyperlinking has encouraged reading not just within and then between discrete texts but much more robustly across texts, interreferencing and interweaving insights and lines of referencing. How texts relate, as a consequence, has become dramatically magnified, making visible what hitherto has been hidden largely from view. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC. Q Hyper 1 Number 3. The above graph shows the average yearly concentrations of PM2.5, or ultrafine particles, in Seoul, Paris, Los Angeles, London, and New York from 2010 to 2012. 2010-2012, 2.5 μm. Among the 5 selected cities, Seoul had the highest concentrations of PM2.5, which never fell below 25 micrograms per cubic meter during the whole period. 2.5 μm, 25 μg/m superscript 3. During the same period, on the other hand, New York had the lowest, which reached 13.9 micrograms per cubic meter in 2012. 2012 13.9 μg/m superscript 3. In 2010, the PM2.5 concentration in Los Angeles was the third highest among the 5 cities, but in 2011, it rose to the second highest with 23.5 micrograms per cubic meter. 2010 2.5 μm 5, 2011 23.5 μg/m superscript 3. In 2012, the concentration in Los Angeles decreased to 17.9 micrograms per cubic meter and became the second highest among the 5 cities. 2012 17.9 μg/m superscript 3, 5. In 2010, the PM2.5 concentration in London was lower than that in Paris, but in 2012, the concentration in London was higher by 1 microgram per cubic meter than that in Paris. 2010 2.5 μm, 2012 1 μg/m superscript 3. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC. Q Hyper 1 Number 4. Hypotheses that have passed many supportive tests are often called theories. A theory is an explanation that summarizes a hypothesis or a set of hypotheses and has been supported with repeated testing. Theories have a great deal more supportive testing behind them than do hypotheses. Suppose your new hypothesis is wooden objects burn. You will find this hypothesis more satisfactory since all of the wooden objects you try will burn. You can see from this example that the hypothesis does not become what we think of as a fact but rather a tentatively accepted theory, which must undergo continuous testing and possible adjustments. Even if your theory seems successful, you might be ignoring other types of combustible materials, such as a large stack of old car tires, objects made of fabric or paper, or perhaps containers of petroleum. You can see that even though you are quite satisfied with your theory because it does the job you want it to do, you actually do not have a complete statement on all the properties that make objects burn. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC. Q-1 number 5. In school, students rarely learn to view disagreements among scientists as a natural part of the progress of science. Most textbooks are written as if science is a set of truths to be memorized. Teachers, especially in America, are under enormous pressure to cover a large number of unrelated science topics each year to prepare their students for accountability tests, which generally measure students' ability to recall facts. When breadth is emphasized over depth, there simply is not time to discuss how the scientific ideas came to be. There is barely time to help students grasp the meaning of the ideas themselves. On the rare occasions when students are exposed to historical ideas about science, those ideas tend to be dismissed with minimal discussion of why they were replaced, or why scientists held them in the first place. Students are left with the impression that scientists held some silly ideas in the past, but now they have them all figured out, and today's scientific theories are true. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC. Q-1 number 6. With respect to philosophy, regardless of our particular personal living conditions, we all share in some knowledge that is common to us all. This knowledge includes the basic principles of reasoning. They are so basic that they are presupposed by all of our reasoning processes. Because the basic principles are so fundamental, they are self-evident, they do not depend upon any more fundamental principles of reasoning, and they cannot be demonstrated. Demanding that everything we accept as true be demonstrated by means of some reasoning process would be unreasonable. It would mean that reasoning could never get started in the first place. However, it's a fact that we do reason, and that we do so successfully, at least on some occasions. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC. Q-1 number 7. Self-awareness is observed in chimpanzees and the other apes. When chimps are placed in front of a mirror, it takes just a few minutes for them to figure out that they are seeing themselves. They then spend a while examining inside their mouths, the top of their head, and everywhere else they couldn't see before. Monkeys never figure out that they are seeing their own image, or they just don't behave as a human would do as the image is recognized. One can put a red dot on the forehead of an animal and then place that animal in front of a mirror. We then watch to see whether the animal touches the dot in the mirror or the dot on its own head. Touching the dot on its own forehead shows that the animal understands that it is seeing its own image in the mirror. A chimp will touch the dot on its own forehead. All of the ape species have been found to touch their own forehead, while every monkey species touches the dot in the mirror. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC. Q-1 number 8. Concentrating on increasing your own content knowledge and developing the intellectual skills to use that knowledge effectively may yield great benefits. The creative cognition approach, as developed by Ronald Finke, Stephen Smith, and myself, provides an organizing framework for thinking about the interplay between knowledge and skills. Ronald Finke, Stephen Smith. Within that approach, creativity is assumed to emerge from the application of ordinary, fundamental cognitive processes to existing knowledge structures, which results in ideas that are novel and useful. It is important to note that the processes, which are most involved in producing such ideas, are ones that are within the capabilities of most, if not all, normal people. In effect, the potential for creative thought is normative, rather than rare for humans, which is why we have made a lot of incredible innovative progress. Many species use and even modify tools, but none other than humans have manipulated and built upon their knowledge about early versions of tools to develop new ones that ultimately lead them to escape the physical bonds of our home planet. According to the creative cognition approach, the combination of knowledge and intellect leads to creativity, and we human beings exclusively use our creative capabilities productively. MTC. Good job.